This is IsAware, powered by Intersoft Associates. IsAware is your connection to exploring the systems and software that power businesses like yours with expert insight, experience, and advice.
Welcome back to IsAware. My name is Chris Bentliff, and I'm joined as always by Hy Goldstoff and Abe Unger. And guys, today I thought we'd talk about CRMs. We've talked some about the CRM integration. We've talked about the value of the CRM, but let's kind of level set on the importance and the functionality of the CRM. So fancy acronyms, CRM stands for Customer Relationship Manager. It often connects into an ERP, which is an enterprise resource planning platform. And many organizations use both. Some organizations use a really robust system to do all the things. There's ways to think about using the right tool for the job, which is maybe somebody who's really focused on a great CRM and integrating that with something else and something else. Hy, just from an overall sort of umbrella perspective, do you have thoughts about the value of a CRM or how we should be thinking in business as business leaders about our CRM?
Certainly. I mean, your contacts, be they customers, prospects, or suspects, are, to some degree or to a very high degree, the lifeblood of your organization. I've said this to staff a good deal of the time that, I had back when I first started working, I had a boss who, when we wrote software, he said, everything's an inventory system, because we're keeping track of stuff, whatever it might be it stocks, be it widgets, whatever it might be. Well, today the world has really progressed because the whole world's a CRM. Everything you want to know about a customer is really important. That's what Amazon does. That's what allows Amazon to use their machine learning and AI to tell you what you should buy, to help you buy, and and all of their they're using their customers and their customer contacts, to manage all that and their behavior and all that. So anyway, the whole world's a CRM, and it's just important that you use it properly. You can use it certainly to make sure you communicate well with your customers on existing projects, orders, whatever that might be, and that you manage your sales and marketing pipeline correctly. And that's that's how people today think of a CRM. Products like Salesforce, Zoho, HubSpot, Pipeline, and there's a whole bunch of them, and they kind of view that as managing their marketing funnel, but it's much more important than that because it leads into what you're trying to sell and what you're trying to offer them as a product or a service ultimately.
Which I think is an important perspective. Abe, do you have guidance on when I think about my CRM? If the end goal is to make a sale or make a repeat sale or, have a, robust service plan or something, should I be building my CRM or thinking about my approach with an eye towards that end goal? So start with the end first, or should I build my CRM or choose my CRM and let it inform what is the end goal that we're going to have? Should it be part of that evolution or development process, in your opinion?
So what you want to do is you always want to have some kind of a plan or understanding of what you're trying to gain out of it before you jump into anything, because the different solutions out there won't necessarily give you what you need. And it may sound like all these bells and whistles, it sounds really great. Let me jump into that. But if you don't really understand where you're going, you may not pick the right tool, or you may pick the right tool, but you may implement it incorrectly or use features in it that are not really going to help you and that will hinder you. And you'll have to jump through hoops to do things rather than just get from point A to B. You've got to go through all these different steps, whereas you can make it really, really simple. So really understanding where you want to get to, what you want to do, how you want to get to that goal, the CRM is going to help you with. But if you don't know what that is, any tool you get, you're just going to set it up and it's not going to do what you want. And you end up going down a path of, now that I'm here and I've spent all that time and set this up, now it's the wrong tool. Now what do I do? And you got to make that decision of, well, I spent all this money, I spent all this time, I built this whole system, and I'm not really using all the functionality of it. Why do I really need that? Should I do something else? So if you start from the beginning of what it is that you want to gain out of what you're trying to do, that's certainly going to help you. And you may make mistakes anyway, but they'll be at least educated mistakes, and you can really recuperate those or work with those to build a better system. But going down that wrong path without any ideas or any thoughts, dangerous, really dangerous.
It's kind of like a line from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, where they turn to each other and goes, "What the hell do we do now?" So and that's what you want. Abe was having a conversation with a consultant for one of our clients in a similar vein, and that consultant was only concerned about doing something for the short term. Let's get this done quickly, and then you can worry about long term. And he correctly explained, yes, we understand the short term is really important, but if we don't have a plan, if we don't know what the long term is going to look like, what we do for the short term may be a complete waste of time, money, and we might lose a ton of data. So, you got to know what you want to accomplish. And as you go down that route, you'll get a lot smarter and you'll be able to adjust as necessary. But if it's like starting, playing a game of chess with not knowing what your moves are going to be.
It's great advice. I've seen it so many times where an organization gets kind of myopic about implementation rather than impact. And you get so busy, with the training involved and with onboarding and with getting all these sort of systems going, you can get focused on that instead of, but wait, is this solving the problems? And is this even the right tool? And I wonder, if I already have a CRM, so there's, I haven't even dived into it. I've just got whatever spreadsheets or weird Post-it notes, and my whole organization is running off that. But if I already have a CRM and I chose it 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 3 years ago, what are some symptoms that I'm outgrowing it? What are some symptoms that there are inefficiencies that I might not be paying attention to, or that I'm just kind of stumbling around, or that I've accepted, as you said before, kind of minding that inertia? What if I've just gotten used to some things? What should I be experiencing that could be a beacon, a big red flashing light that says you need to give this some new attention?
Well, certainly if it doesn't talk to your whatever software, whatever system runs your organization. Now, if it's Excel spreadsheets or an Access database, that may not be possible. But if you've got some sort of whatever the software might be, custom software, Oracle, NetSuite, whatever they might be, and they should be able to, to talk to each other to some degree, so that the people who are using the CRM, who may not need visibility to the ERP, and and that they get the information that they need in terms of customer orders, and and then can feed the ERP also ideally. So is it making if the goal certainly ought to be increasing that marketing funnel and being able to keep track of your contacts, your suspects, your prospects, and your customers. And if it's not helping you in that area, certainly what else can it do? Maybe they can do a lot of inbound marketing. There are a whole bunch of stuff that they can do using it, but is it achieving the goal that you have? And this shouldn't be a 3-year or a 5-year review. This should be done, I wouldn't say every quarter, but it certainly depends on the organization, but at least once a year. And then you got to determine, okay, if it's not doing what I expected it to do, and we're spinning our wheels, what's the best way to determine what we should be doing? And it might just be using that same CRM better, not using all the functionality, all the features. Make sure it talks to whatever software you have, and that your software can also get data from it.
Right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
One thing to keep in mind is software, business process, CRM. These are living and breathing entities. They're changing. They're constantly changing, and things are constantly coming up. And the longer you wait to look at some of those items, the more you're going to get into that path of, I'm doing this, and we'll just keep going. Reevaluate, talk about it, think about it, have discussions, have conversations. They may not mean anything, and they may not mean any change, and you may not actually implement anything as a result of them. But at a minimum, you have a better understanding of where you are, where you're going, and then what you need to do about it. And that may be changing the CRM, that may be adding a bolt-on to a CRM, or that may be keeping things the same because it is doing what you need and it is working as expected. But if you don't have those conversations, that's when you start to get into that, I'm doing this for so long, I'll just continue along that path and not challenge yourself or challenge the business to change.
I mean, inertia is a real strong force. And, this is what we do. This is how we do it. Nobody thinks about it. And, leadership certainly has to look at that. Is it being used properly? What else, does it do? Certainly, if you've been using CRM for a while, it's a highly competitive area, and they keep on getting better. They keep on improving. So rethink that.
Really important too, as you guys are talking about that your business is changing. Your business is growing. It's evolving. It's got new market segments. It's got new products or services. You've got new market dynamics or competitors. And so what worked really well when there were 5 of you isn't going to work as well when there's 15 of you, or when your sales cycle is more sophisticated or whatever. And to that point, Abe, do you feel like you have any guidance or thoughts about, there are some CRMs that are maybe a little leaner, a little, I want to say smaller, but I don't want that to indicate less powerful. And then there's some that are, I'm thinking of Salesforce, just really robust. Or there's, you can make HubSpot do all kinds of things. Sometimes I find that those can be jacks of all trades, masters of none. And sometimes that's exactly, having this huge suite of services inside of a single platform can be just really great. Do you have ideas about, should I be trying to integrate, bolt together, as you said, different functionality so that I'm getting the best and the best and the best, and together those will kind of comprehensively become my CRM? Or is it better for me to start with something that's more comprehensive and see what gaps might emerge?
So it's a little bit of both. It's that understanding of what you need and talking to someone who can help you. Because if you're going into, I know I need a CRM, let's get a CRM, but you don't know what the different packages are and what the functionalities are, you got to talk to people who do. The salespeople at all of these places are going to tell you their product is going to do everything, and they're going to tell you we can do everything you need and everything you want, everything you think about, and it's really easy and it'll plug and play and life is good. That's what salespeople are supposed to do. You really need to understand what they're not telling you and how your business applies to those various solutions. And that's where you're going to need people to talk to who have done this kind of thing before and understand, what are you trying to do? What are the packages offering and how to use them? And it may be a combination of packages. It may be one specific, like you said, one specific, tool that has all these bells and whistles that you can go use and it'll apply to what you're doing. Or it may be something that, as you said, not the term smaller, but a package that doesn't have all of that, but it's more focused. And using that, it really matches what your business needs are. And you stay with that focused version.
It's really like any other project you go into, certainly in the software world. If you're not using one today, and even if you are using one, is sit back and say, what do we need? What functionality do we need? Make sure you understand that. Maybe speak to a number of salesmen or solution representatives, and put together a gap analysis. What do you need? Does the software have it? And if it doesn't have it, how can you get it? How can you achieve that goal? We're working with a fairly large client now that's using Salesforce for one particular functionality, totally separate instance. I don't know if they use Salesforce throughout the rest of the organization or any other CRM throughout the rest of the organization. And we're getting data from a lot of data from a lot of sources, and we're putting it into Salesforce really for a single function, is to contact those people. And the amount of data we're getting, to import into a standard SQL type database is really fairly quick. You're talking about millions of records, and you're talking about 15, 20 minutes to import that into a database to do whatever you need to do with. Moving that into Salesforce with all of its overhead for this particular function can take as much as 18 hours or more. Now that's really unacceptable if you want to scale. So that's something that nobody really did. It does all they want to do, but you can never really stress test it for 1 million or 2 million records. And so it's really important, to be able to understand where the gaps might be. Now, fortunately, we can, get the data into Salesforce, and we can retrieve the data from Salesforce, so we have a complete copy of what transpired for additional analysis by the client. So it's interesting how they've kind of not using Salesforce completely anymore and moving a lot of it, moving some of the functionality off. The core functionality will remain within Salesforce, but they didn't do complete analysis of the gaps.
It's really interesting, and you can find yourself, you can find yourself hodgepodging together a solution when you didn't need to. On the other hand, you can find yourself adopting a solution that isn't the right tool for the job or the right collection of tools for the job. And I think you've got a great perspective on reviewing this more than once every 3 or 5 years, which a lot of companies do, because it can be a huge thing to, embark on a new CRM. And you think once we got everybody onboarded, that's it. You got to revisit that, just like other parts of your business have to be revisited regularly so that it's growing and it's moving and it's shaping with you. And as always, if there's some leadership that needs to be there or some technical guidance, it's great to bring, a custom software developer or guys like Intersoft Associates to help make that picture a little more clear.
Well, a lot of that was based on Abe and his team in looking at that problem and coming up with solutions. This is a problem, and we have a solution, which was fairly inexpensive. So that's a lot of just, our experience in solving problems of, various size, shapes, and weights has allowed us to look at this thing somewhat critically, and and offer what we think is a problem and what we think is a solution. So so our process tends to work.
Guys, so much interesting insight on CRMs. I'm really glad to kind of have this level set. We can have a lot more interesting conversations around this, and I'm looking forward to those in the future. Thanks for your expertise today, guys. Nice to talk to you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for IsAware, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one today. IsAware is powered by Intersoft Associates, who believes the more you know about your IT, the better. Visit us at intersoftassociates.com and schedule your free consultation to talk about how custom software can help your business.